Good morning, Fentanyl Nation. Love him or hate him, Justin Roiland is an interesting person with a rich history in animation. We're talking Epstein rich, in more ways than one. Before Rick and Morty, Roiland created a whole bunch of cartoons. Some were genuine pitches for networks, and others were just meant to be shorts, funny to nobody but himself. Today I'm joined by someone else who enjoys laughing at his own jokes, Pan Pizza.
We're going to go over everything we could find. Stuff we had to dig through on Internet Archive, dead sites, and busted flash files to recover. Are they absolute garbage or hidden gems? Like the suitcases I claimed from the airport lost and found. Let's dig through and find out.
The first cartoon Roiland ever made back in 2003, or at least the earliest we could find, is Tiger Wizard Suitcase. This was created for his personal website, Comic Sacrifice. This website is absolute jank in the best way. Slimy, but well made and unique for its time. So, does anyone remember Narnia? No? Well, Tiger Wizard Suitcase is a parody of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, if you couldn't tell by the title. The joke is, what if the one who entered Narnia was so crazy that nobody believed her, beating her up mercilessly for her insane, unfunny story? This is among one of Roiland's many cartoons that assumes repeating the same phrase equals comedy. Maybe that works to an extent, but this extends far beyond that.
Triads and the Byads and the Naiads! They live in the trees, Lucy! The Triads and the Naiads! There's Griffiths and Pixies, and there's even a tiger, Lucy! A tiger! It's filled with Triads and Byads and Naiads! The Triads, Byads, even Naiads! Triads and the Byads and the Naiads! Triads and the Byads and the Naiads! Triads and the Byads and the Naiads! They live in the trees, Lucy! Oh my goodness, I think she's gone quite mad this time.
I will say, there are cool yet unnecessary comic book transitions between scenes that I quite enjoy, and Bill Burr actually helped work on this cartoon, as well as some of Roiland's other buddies he met upon moving to LA. Roiland described Tiger Wizard Suitcase as follows.
One of the most pure things I've ever done, since we had no reason for making this thing other than our own desire to do so. The voices were recorded into a crappy camcorder microphone in someone's car. We were soaked in sweat from the heat of the car, but the whole time we were laughing our asses off.
This cartoon is referenced in Justin Roiland's replay records. Apparently, these mostly live-action skits were actually aired locally in Manteca, Modesto, Stockton, and the surrounding areas that no one cares about. This follows the long-running theme of Roiland referencing his older works and his newer works, which I actually find pretty interesting. Recycled characters and locations.
The first one was actually an intro to the segment Family of the Day. It features SHARON walking into frame and sitting on the couch with a family. Not my family, I don't want this chick in my house. With the air date of May 10, 2004, it was on the last few episodes of the talk show. Much like JFK, they went out with a bang. The second one is an animated cutaway thought up by Frank Nicotero, host of a game show called Street Smarts. He jokes about a video game for a housewife, cut to a fighting game parody of Frank being attacked by his wife throwing dishes. Comedy gold. This is a cry for help, and yet SHARON did nothing. The following level is the husband washing dishes as the wife demands he goes faster. He wasn't fast enough, so he's given a game over punishment, which is sleeping in the doghouse. The implication is this would make girls see the appeal of video games and they would play them more, or so says Roiland's website description.
This was our first paying gig for national television that featured a cartoon of ours. The producers came to us and suggested a cartoon as a punchline to a joke. We accepted the job, and it was completed on one Saturday. Justin Roiland drew the art, Savan Najarian animated the piece and did the music. George Delaire produced some music that the show was unable to clear.
For those of you paranoid of testicles living in your walls, 2004's TWISSLETON exploits that fear. A family discovers these wall scrotums assuming they're friendly, but not quite. They proceed to talk about pissing and shitting in excruciating detail all over the family's stuff. And that's all that happens. Show, don't tell. Then again, maybe not.
Now that we have the humans on our side, we can begin phase 2 of our plan. Little do they know that our intention is to poop and pee all over every square inch of this house. We will poop and pee and doo-doo and poo-poo and poopy and pee-pee all on the ground and in the humans' hair and poop and pee and doo-doo in their eyes. We will poo-poo and pee-pee on the hardwood floors and poo-poo and pee-pee in the carpets. We will poop and pee in their mouths and all poop and pee in the rations of food. Once our poop and our pee has infiltrated the refrigerator and the poop and the pee is spread thickly through the cupboards and in the micro...
Is that enough?
There's genuinely more piss jokes than first graders at recess. This feels like it was made either during an alcohol binge or a depressive episode. Knowing Justin's frequent drinking while recording, maybe both.
Toro and Moro was the first of many Channel 101 cartoons, an online video network by Justin Roiland, Dan Harmon, and other people I don't care about. The website's goal was to be as unrestrictive as possible, edgy humor and copyrighted materials. Strangely enough, Channel 101 has managed to survive to this day if you're ever interested in submitting a pilot to it. Back to Toro and Moro, the show is about two scrotum aliens who escaped a circus and then flooded a home bathroom. The homeowner comes back and somehow the flooded house catches fire, and it gave me PTSD back when my Sim's house caught fire, killed my Sim, and the Grim Reaper showed up. Scariest shit ever. The incessant amount of piss jokes in all these cartoons would make even R. Kelly blush, like goddamn. Did something severely traumatic happen to Roiland as a child to emotionally stun him to the extent that he's incapable of expressing himself in any other ways than piss? Unsurprisingly, Toro and Moro was not all that welcome with open arms, as according to this quote from Roiland,
Toro and Moro placed last among 5 other pilots on Channel 101, where we solidified our title as everyone's least favorite.
Hilarious Jokes was the second 101 cartoon, and thank God for the levity. They get a burn victim talking about fire safety as a TV show host makes jokes at his expense. It's just like the time all those kids get in the bonfire accident, so Culver's held a fundraiser for their medical bills by selling bonfire s'mores flavor ice cream. I absolutely am obsessed with the deranged MS Paint looking intro. Truly a relic of classic shitposting. This might be my favorite of the bunch so far, with how devoid of sympathy this host is for that mummified Pelswick clone. What started as accepting the jokes devolves into please to stop. I'd watch more Comedy Central roasts if this is what they were like. Here's what Roiland had to say about the short clip.
It looks like it would be simple, but the background we used made it a nightmare. I think After Effects crashed several times, and Savan lost a ton of work. Tensions were pretty high on this one. When I first started drawing the characters, I remember Abed and I sitting around one night riffing these horrible fire jokes. Originally, both hosts were going to be in good health, just telling really offensive jokes. That was the show. But these fire jokes got to be so funny that I decided to switch gears and rewrite the script to make the first episode of this show all about the co-host's fire accident. This still stands as my favorite thing that I've ever made. It holds up for me. I hate watching the things I've made, but I never mind watching this. This is also the first appearance of Leroy Poloni, a character that I swear will get his time to shine at some point. So help me God.
By 2005, Channel 101 may have gotten their first viral hit, House of COSBYS. The 4 episodes revolve around Cosby's biggest fan cloning him, but each one has a different gimmick, such as living in a bathtub or dancing. Every 10th clone has a unique power, such as being a woman. Hope she never leaves her drink unattended. I'd hate to see her canon event. Between nonsensical tangents, this show will go on about aliens and dinosaurs. It's a wonder how this garnered an audience, but back then, celebrity parodies would spread like wildfire. It was the highest rated Channel 101 show for 3 consecutive months. Oh, and The Lonely Island produced some of the music. Sounds exceptionally better than the past few entries, though I think one track is just Dr. Mario. As a major plot point, the woman Cosby gets a fanboy pregnant, but is ultimately left on the cliffhanger. The show was noticed by Little Bill himself, who sent a cease and desist. It's strange how much they wanted this show to disappear with how little jokes are actually about Bill Cosby himself. Regardless, the show ended and Cosby's reputation was forever saved. A 5th episode was planned mocking the legal issues, but was never made. While it ended, this wouldn't be the last we hear of Roiland's take on the Cosbys.
I was partly sad, and kind of a little flattered. I'm sure he despised it, which is sort of sad because we're all fans.
Pitched for MTV2, 2005's Brain Nuggets was Roiland's first ever TV pitch, a sketch comedy show that he regrets.
I was ashamed of this for a long time based on the radio silence I received after pitching it. I watch it now and think, it might be the best thing I've ever made, / ever will make. Not too dissimilar to the bar from Cheers, the show follows these brain nuggets, and the inner business goings-on of the Nugget Corporation, run by a lunatic and his tortured partner, the guys from Friends and Lovers. When you drink a brain nugget, a short sketch happens in your mind, always pretty short in length. I swear to God, any similarities to the kids in the Hall's brain candy is 100% unintentional. I should probably watch that movie again just to make sure this isn't too similar.
This show has horrid creations walking into a bar where they consume brain nuggets, with each nugget leading to a skit 0 people find funny. Then, immediately following this, you have to endure the most annoying song you've ever heard.
Brain nuggets! 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 Brain nuggets!
Imagine the random phrases in your head get materialized. Stuff that should be locked away deep in the crevices of shame within your brain are presented for everyone to see. Brain Nugget! This releases 6 years before Nugget and a Biscuit, and maybe the world wasn't ready for this shit. After the insane MK Ultra-like torture, I was just hoping the cartoon would finally end, but just like a writer's room full of women, Roiland shows no mercy. I'm not religious, but I'll pray to whatever miracle-making God prevented Justin from making a part 2.
Born out of Justin's sexual unbridled rage over the House of COSBYS legal issues, The Real Animated Adventures of Doc and Marty is a 2006 parody of Back to the Future. It's essentially the rough origins of Rick and Morty, though still pretty funny with the same style of improv. The plot has Marty's kite getting stuck in a tree, so the duo have to go back in time to make sure that tree was never planted. To do that, Marty has to lick the Doc's balls. This freaks out the guy planting the tree so much he fucking dies. Unfortunate. Wish that was me. No, please, I was just joking. I wanna live. There were more Doc and Marty shorts made, like this ad for a comic Dan Harmon helped write called Scud, the Disposable Assassin.
Marty, drop whatever you're doing. I gotta tell you about a comic book called Scud the Disposable Assassin.
But Doc, I'm right in the middle of standing all alone by myself in this darkened room. I'm having a whole lot of fun.
Marty, I know that's important, but it can wait.
All right, you talked me into it.
Best comic I ever read. I only read like 3 comics ever. Next is a third Marty short advertising for Channel 101 and its lack of restrictions.
Hey, what's up, my friends? It's me, Garfield. Man, I've been busy 12-year-old girls all day. I ate the shit out of my owner John's asshole. So I was just dropping by to let you guys know that I hate Mondays. Oh, and I'm gonna eat lasagna and go also dig up the corpse of Terry Schiavo and Odie and Nermal are gonna be there, so, you know, if you guys wanna go, that's, it's your choice.
Well, I don't think there's too much more explaining to do on that topic.
Seeing how funny these all were, it's no wonder this evolved into a series.
Magic Fantastic is not fantastic. In 2006, Justin Roiland climbed into the deep recesses of his own mental purgatory and came back with this cartoon. If I took a shot for every piss joke, I'd be dead of alcohol poisoning within minutes. The audio quality is somehow worse than mine.
Well, she fucking blocked me.
And that's saying something because I set the bar so fucking low. MTV was interested in more episodes of this for their online portal. They asked for a budget. I said $10K an episode. Never heard back.
Unbelievable Tales gives us an anthology of shorts told by a jelly bean named Grumbly Crumplestein. Wait, I think I've seen this design before. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. In the vein of most of Justin's shock humor shorts, this jelly bean's narrator recounts a tale about these children that strip down and jump into the ocean. One drowns and dies, and the other one starts eating shit being propelled out of a man's ass. Then it cuts to the jelly bean narrator going home, and it's revealed there are some kidnapped children tied up in his house. Yeah, there's no punchline beyond kids getting abused or drawn with dicks. It seems like being confused and uncomfortable was the point, according to the following quote.
This could have been more palatable to the audience if I had focused on selling the concept instead of trying to gross the audience out / shock them. At this point in time, all I wanted to do was listen to an audience freak out. So I took this great idea about a creepy kids show host who is also kidnapping kids and just went balls out and made it totally fucked up. I mean, the foundational concept was dark and creepy to begin with, but I could have crafted it in an easily followable, ultimately satisfying way. I fully understood this going in. I didn't care. I wanted so bad to just make something insane. That's what drove me. Insanity. Confusing people. I want to make more stuff like this. The audience at 101 hated it.
Little Dipper Goes to Taco Bell was a cartoon pilot released in 2006 about this guy who has a really big head and constantly finds himself getting hurt. He's amassed a $20,000 debt from library fees, so to make the money back, he becomes a lawnmower and, once again, cleaving his Jimmy Neutron skull. It wraps up with a mentally troubled surgeon asking to move in with him and the librarian, setting up a premise for a wacky oddball sitcom. Of course, this show never came to fruition, so it just feels somewhat unfinished, as does with a lot of Roiland's cartoons, although this one may have been handicapped by something else entirely. This pilot, according to Harmon, wasn't able to air on the first season of Acceptable TV for some reason, and was shown in podcast form on June 19, 2007. Despite this, the iconic Little Dipper and his freakishly large brain did have a cameo in Rick and Morty.
Still grieving over House of COSBYS, COSBYS was created but never used for Acceptable TV in 2007 in a bitter attempt at revenge. This time, Roiland's plan was to lean more into what falls under parody. A girl enters a pet shop and stumbles upon a tiny Bill Cosby. She asks, "Is this legal?" To which the store owner responds, "That is satire." As a whole, it's straight up just Gremlins with Cosby. Once again, this ends on a cliffhanger in which Cosby clones eat after midnight and turn into blobs or some kind of alien eggs. It's weird how many of these things end with a cliffhanger. Honestly, this one was pretty fun to watch, especially knowing how it's protected under parody law.
This is one of those animated shorts we made for Acceptable TV that never made it to air. What a shame. I have a feeling it would have been a real side splitter. This was me doing another House of COSBYS type thing, only within the boundaries of what a legal team working for a cable network deemed acceptable.
I commend the fact he wouldn't give up on this format, but I think that's one issue Roiland had trying to turn what would be a funny short into an entire series. This ultimately worked out for himself in the long run by constantly putting stuff out there. Despite it being a staple of his, no piss or shit jokes were to be found, and made the experience so much better. Overall, this cartoon was my favorite thus far.
Relative Insanity was a failed pilot Roiland pitched to Fox in 2007 about a guy trying to establish his life, but his dumbass family keeps fucking everything up. This is very clearly a precursor to Rick and Morty, down to the dad having Rick's voices and mannerisms and talking about how he has to do science. However, instead of a teenage grandson, it's a 25-year-old emotionally stunted man-child. Reminds me of someone. This show could not give a shit about defining any of these family characters, besides showing the grandparents as gangsters. Good for them. From the fragmented view of these characters, I think if it was my family, I would either kill myself or join a rival gang, cause god, these people suck. The animation proves improvement is possible for him, just like the fact there's only one piss joke, and it's in part 3. Hey, what a character arc. Jokes aside, this pilot was actually pretty neat, and if it did get turned into a series, I would be pretty interested in checking it out. What's strange is, Jack Black of all people had his name attached as a producer credit. I'd more than likely assume it didn't go well with test audiences, but this very well could have had legs to eventually run into a full series, with a bit of tweaking. This one is far less cringe-inducing to watch than others.
The Unmarketables was another unused short for Acceptable TV. The premise is that this poorly drawn family moves into a neighborhood of well-drawn families, a thinly veiled allegory for class and or race. I too was once insanely racist, but reduced my hate by half upon watching this cartoon. The story being one of the nicely drawn kids pissing off her family by falling in love with the unmarketable kid. This was after he dookied out a toy train for her. I will say, I really like the meshing of different art styles. It's one of the funnier entries.
You probably can tell that the designs of these characters are pretty similar to Doc and Marty. Originally, that's exactly what they were going to be, but with different names, of course. Then we got Andy Dick on the table, and how could I resist? He is fucking hilarious, and he did a great job in this as Pumpkin Seeds and Peanuts. This was another one of the cartoons made for Acceptable TV that never saw the light of day. It killed me, because I know I would have had more fun making this than I did making Mr. Sprinkles. Maybe someday we'll figure out what rich banker owns this and figure out a way to do it as a real TV show. Maybe Dan Harmon and I own it already. Who knows? Check your local listings.
Our next cartoon was part of Acceptable TV on the channel VH1. Classic channel, bringing us beloved shows like, they're known for, Anyways, Acceptable TV is a 2007 show where they play comedic skits and viewers vote online for the best 2 that will get a continuation next week. A frequent winner and the only animated skit was Mr. Sprinkles. What Rick and Morty did to Back to the Future, Sprinkles does into a Seussical fever dream. Mr. Sprinkles is a parody of the Cat in the Hat who breaks into children's homes when it rains in order to teach them how to have fun. But the kids scream in terror when he arrives on the scene. You see, kids today don't play outside anymore because they have video video games, and the internet. To hell with that crap. This leaves Sprinkles without any purpose, and he quickly realizes he can't go breaking into kids' houses anymore and projecting his fun onto them. He goes to the Harmon Asylum to get help for his problem with recovering mascots like Captain Crunch. Now, I did wonder if Acceptable TV's votes were rigged, since that seems like a lot of work to create this all in one week. Sprinkles was my favorite segment though. I recall in the 8th and final episode, he lost the previous vote. So the host said, screw it, we're already animating, here it is. Confirming this arbitrary system didn't really matter and nothing would stop Mr. Sprinkles.
I'd say this section contains some lost media, but calling it that implies anyone is deranged enough to find this. The Sarah Silverman Show was a 2007 skit show and live action. What's actually important is the DVDs contain animated webisodes. These were partially lost, so shout out to the people who helped find them in the description. Steve and Brian is a show about two guys who are burnt out on adventures, so here's them going on one. The pure amount of hell no is just so damn funny. This next webisode is Sarah's Dream. Sarah enters a cartoon dream world in a cinematic parallel to Jimmy Kimmel in Springfield, and she helps arrest the wizard Nicholas Smith to become a hero. There's only one episode I found, while the Wayback Machine shows more on Comedy Central's old website. Due to the shutdown of Flash, they've been impossible to rip. The same applies to Magic Purse, in which Sarah cures world hunger with a wish-granting bag and lives to regret it. Cookies Come Alive at least has 3 episodes found. Man, I love that logo. The first is about these cookies living their life until some guy demands the recipe for living cookies. He wants a cookie army, but they fart on his face, and then he realizes it's okay to be fat, and that's the moral of the story. Episode 2 has this human's ex-wife, who was essentially a psyop, come back to steal the cookie recipe. But then a robot vaporizes her to death, and the guy and his cookies dance, chanting in a forbidden language over her remains. The last episode teaches you that if you're drunk, you'll neglect your child and they'll jump off a building. I feel like my parents could have used that lesson. The surgeons may have stitched up my head, but they'll never stitch back my relationships to normal. The last and probably the best of the Sarah Silverman cartoons would be the 2-parter, Fantastimart. Some kids are sucked into a TV ad of bootleg McDonald's mascots as they're forced to listen to these ads. And I won't say what happens next. The premise just gets stupider and stupider.
This here is a cartoon I wrote for the Sarah Silverman Show, y'all. Same team as on all the short cartoons I wrote and directed for the Sarah Show. The Fantastimart characters were designed by Rob Schrab. He's great. He should design more things. I guess he just doesn't have any time.
Dog World was a series pitch in 2012 created by Justin Roiland for Cartoon Network. This was a pitch that Roiland was the most personally invested in, as he had multiple plans for how the series was going to go. However, production was, quote, moving forward as fast as a redwood tree grows, according to him. He eventually departed from the idea, but not without making a blatant reference to it in Rick and Morty's first season episode, Lawnmower Dog. The plot goes as follows. Peter, Edmund, and Sally Michaels were on a camping trip when they got sucked through a portal to a dimension where dogs are smart and humans are pets. They are taken in by the Doggerson family while they try to find a way back to their own world. The Michaels are little shits, so they leave their new family and get kidnapped, leaving the Doggersons to hatch a plan to rescue the ungrateful pieces of shit that they are. The animatic short is particularly notable because it's the first instance of the theme music of Rick and Morty, completely unchanged.
Intended as a rough pitch presentation, 2013's Help, We're Dying, Show Us Cartoons is about 2 strange children with rare illnesses that could be potentially triggered by them dying at any moment. When this happens, there's only one cure that can save them: watching an anthology series of cartoons that are loosely related to the thing that triggers them into dying. Apparently, this show was going to feature guest shorts by the animator Game Grumps, Mark McCurry of Stick Animations, and Brian Weissel as employees of Uncle Michael, making animations for the dying children on short notice. In the pitch video, the children burst into Uncle Michael's room pleading that they ate too much and are now dying. The designs for the kids look like chicken nuggets with Mario Brothers style hats for the first letter in their names, presumably stitched on. Downstairs, Mark quickly throws together a cartoon in a few seconds. Probably used AI because no animator works that fast, not even me. And I don't work at all. But the children freak out because the cartoons are not related to their specific situation. Honestly, an interesting premise for a series. Just too bad it never got made.
There's a massive whiplash in quality throughout these cartoons, but keep in mind that they are over the span of 10 years. Whether you like them or not, you can take away the lesson that with time and patience, you will learn to hone your craft and improve. Always look for a way to get the work you make in front of people, even if they're nowhere near perfect yet. Why waste time daydreaming on what could be? Use your resources and friends, make it the way only you can. If you're doing your own thing as unabashedly and confidently as him, you'll almost certainly find your crowd. Looking at Roiland's starting point and where he is now, besides recently dropped criminal charges, it really goes to show that if you're devoted enough, you can make it too, and honestly, that's something that gives me confidence to make mine. That's all I got for today.
Make sure to check out our Super Magnetic Neo collab on my channel, even though it's unhinged and I force Mango at gunpoint to have the worst mic quality imaginable. Subscribe to Neon Caffeine and me, Rebel Taxi. I'm Pan Pizza, but my YouTube channel is Rebel Taxi, and we'll catch you on the flip side.